Heyo, my PlanCo friends, Johnny5 Live here, and welcome back to another episode of Project PlanCo. We got a big one for you here today. We have not 3 buildings, but instead 5 full creations. We're upping the ante, getting a little bit more, and we're actually going to be skipping the setup process. Just so happens that the one episode that I said, okay, why don't I just skip the setup process and we'll instead place 5 buildings and make this more about the review and less about the setup. This was probably the first one that I really felt that the setup would have been a lot more interesting, as what you're seeing here, this basically full completed row. We have almost a basic whole street done other than one building now with these new 5 additions. This row with adjustments and tweaking some of the old builds, getting these ones in right, actually took me 2 full hours to get going, and that would have actually made for an interesting speed build, but definitely not something that I would want to have done in real time and chop it down. That definitely would have made for a way too long of an episode. We could talk about some of those changes as we review them to give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes, but we got 5 fantastic builds to showcase here today, so why don't we get right on into it. Now I can't even remember which order I placed them in, but I believe this is the first one I placed down, and this is created by notdana, PlanCo Florist 07, and on the workshop that says that they use 378 pieces out of the 400 allotted. I'm actually glad you put the total on there, because now that I'm skipping the setup, I actually don't see what we gave you. This one says 350, but yours might have been a little bit higher. But yeah, very beautiful build. Loving what I'm seeing here. Definitely some great colors. Very similar in terms of building style and shape to the Gulpy building next to it, with the trim, the size, the height. It matches and flows very well with the building next to it. The only downside to this is we had some issues here. So we'll talk about the problems and the adjustments that I had to make. Now, I don't know how this plant is going to work. I think it's fine. You know, some of the guests might walk through it, but it should be fine. I actually quite like this planter a lot. It looks nice. And that being a floral shop, that it's looking really beautiful. The guests are gonna have to navigate their way through these little plants and stuff, but one of the best decorated storefronts that we've yet to see throughout this project. Little fonts on the store, fresh flowers, very smartly done too. Put the sign basically so close to the window that only the text pop through, and it's a nice little PlanCo trick. But basically the font actually sticks off of signs like this. So this is actually floating by like a pixel or 2. I believe that's how they did it anyways. I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure those are the techniques that were used there. And I quite like that. I think it's a really nice detail, nice flower trim, flowers on the windowsills as well. Love what you did with the top of the roof, so much so that I kind of copy pasted it over to Abby's building, but just adjusted it slightly. Maybe I could probably color these to be more in the Gulpy colors. I don't know if that's something I should do, but again, like maybe something to discuss while I'm doing, like, if you guys like to see the setup, let me know. These are something I can play around with. I don't want to fiddle with too much. I just want to get into the showcase, but that is definitely something I could consider doing. Just to make it flow with the Gulpy theme just a little bit more. But I do like having a little bit of noise on the rooftops, just for when we're doing our city panning cameras and stuff and looking at things from a bird's eye view. It doesn't have to be overly complicated or intricate, but it's definitely a nice touch. So the backside of the build here, also looking fantastic. We got AC units, wires, we got the fire escape with some little debris and doodads and boxes and stuff like that. We have a nice screen on the back, advertisements with graffiti, something that you'll see when you're on the coaster that comes by. The coaster comes ripping through here. It just makes for some nice, interesting backside of the builds here. So looking fantastic from all sides. I'll quickly go over the changes that I made. So this one, placing it in, there was a bit of an issue between these 3 builds. Somebody was going over, and there's a domino effect. So Abby was actually slightly over her cube originally with these exterior trims. Ooh, I need to fix that. See, I keep finding problems all over the place, but oh, what a nightmare. All right, we'll fix that. Hopefully it's not happening over here. A little bit. It's not too bad. But yeah, Abby went a little bit over on her volume cube, and especially with the roof that sticks out. And I had a feeling that might be a problem later. And as I was placing this building, it definitely did. As you can see, the trims collide. I did bring that trim inward slightly just to create some separation so this building doesn't literally just disappear. Now it looks like it was kind of built to here. I kind of crashed the two together ever so slightly. But even with butting it up this close, this building was still being placed over top of our new building with the church. So basically this trash area actually came out to here. They had a whole back alleyway planned, and it's actually I'm glad that they had that, because their building would not have fit. There's supposed to be some walking space here, and that's why the trash came out to here. But after putting this one in and then this one, her building was going right into the trash bin. So I just deleted or just moved the fences over and moved the trash bin over, and that actually worked out quite well. And look at that, we're finding more issues already. So all we have to do is poke that out a pixel to fix it. I don't know what's happening here. So there's double layers. This does not need to exist at all. And this is some of the fun behind the scenes that I didn't get to show you guys here today with these builds. I have found sneaky pieces within pieces. People are putting floors within floors that don't... Oh, I see what's going on there. Yeah, I don't know if this was built entirely the way I would have done it in terms of solving this flickering problem, but I see why it's done there. But if I just offset it a little bit, that fixes that issue. So we're still spotting more things, but yeah, the build itself looks great. As I was mentioning, they didn't fit. There's a cascading ripple effect that when one person builds slightly too big, it causes the next one to be shuffled over. And luckily, we had this small little church here that actually didn't need the full space end to end with the cube, and that allowed us to actually resolve potential issues. So thank goodness for this little baby church. I also had this sticking through there. All I could do is really turn it, otherwise it's crashing through the fence, which is weird, but we can run it off there. We have another runoff spout here. I do like the touch, although it is a little bit weird because you're gonna have water like spraying into traffic. I thought that might even just be funny to put a water emitter here, just soaking the cars that go by. But I guess it would have to be raining hard for it to actually shoot out. It would most likely just run down this wall. And this technically isn't a sidewalk. No one would walk down here. So there would be drain runoffs and stuff for the street. So I guess it's fine. It doesn't have... We're not city engineers. We're not city planners here. We're gamers, and we're just trying to do the best that we can and make things look somewhat practical and sensible to the best of our ability. I think this is great. This is a great build. I know I saw Dana saying something on Discord. She originally wasn't going to sign out a building. She was a little bit nervous, and I think in the end, you have nothing to be nervous about because this is a wonderful build, and I think you're a great builder. I think this showcases your ability to make a good build, and I hope that you're happy with your build, because I certainly am, and I hope you got rid of some of those stage fright and jitters of participating in a community collab, and definitely encourage you to try it again in the future. So I'm glad you got in there last minute to get a build before they were all taken. You came out with something really nice. So a quick look at the nighttime lighting here for this build. Nice, subtle, soft. I like what you did here with some of the lit windows. I didn't even know that was a thing where some windows are lit and others are not. Now, one change I made, this was originally was a lit movie screen, and this is probably going to be something for our future builders to keep in mind. Probably stay away from the lit screens because they were so bright, like blindingly bright from a distance, and you already had lights shining on it. All I did was swap out the lit screen for an unlit screen. That's it. Yeah, I just swapped them out. I did dim these lights just slightly, but now it looks well lit. Like, I can read that sign. It looks fine to me, and it's not like just neon just glowing so bright. It's about the brightness of your windows now, and I think that's a nice kind of middle ground. So I would recommend to most people to use the unlit screens and then add some of your own subtle lighting on top of it. For the most part, they seem to be extremely bright. So now that we're talking about changes and we're already next to this one, I'll show you the before and after of the Gulpy building. I know I was kind of giving Abby a hard time, but it's all good. We got through it, but it was very bright before. It was an interesting project, finding all of the lights in here, because I think there's probably over 20 or 30. I'm not even kidding you. It was like I had to look in walls and windows and floors and roof pieces, quarter pieces, trim. Gulpy himself had like 5 inside of him. That's why it's so bright. And with this game, if you have too many lights in one spot, it starts to create artifacts, bugs, and even lag. So you have to be very, very careful with how much lights you use. And because they're area lights, you actually don't need a bunch of them. A one little area light does emit around the whole building. So after basically reducing all of those lights, what I ended up doing is I did put a one of these emitter lights, like a beam, and that way it shines a bright light on Gulpy. I just dimmed it down a little bit. That way he like lights up at night, still has that emission on him. And then I think I have like just like 1 in the building. Yeah, it's just like 1. And then there's 2 there. So originally all of these light windows were lit at night. And you know, most people at nighttime are gonna have their lights off, except for a couple owl gamers like us. So, you know, like this here, but most of people are sleeping. A couple people are up late. So I just put 2 random lights there. I did add this Gulpy sign, which I thought was nice for the sort of advertisement of the city street. Pretty much all I changed was the lighting. And then for the Stay Puffed, it was pretty much the same thing. Here's a bit of the before and after. It's definitely a shiny, spooky ghost, but it's so bright, as you can see, that like if you blur your eyes a little bit, it's just like one gigantic white hot spot. It's so bright that the black eyes are almost white. You can't even see the white in his eyes, where here you can actually make out the eyes now. So there was a light in pretty much each one of his arms, and then like 7 in the head. I just deleted like all of them. Kept like 1 light, and it looks fine. I had a fun time trying to find all the ones inside here. There's dozens of them. But yeah, just to show you, Abby, just like an FYI, like a workshop review, and to, you know, help you understand lighting a little bit more. This whole building, I think I've lit with 3 lights, and it's subtle. It's still bright. We can definitely make out the character. The shop looks vibing, and there's no 3 in the shop and 1 on the character, I believe, is what I ended up with. So it's looking really well lit. No need to like duplicate lights like crazy. Just try 1, see how it looks, add another if necessary. And definitely when you're playing around with a light like I have here, you know, if you go down, it just dims the light, right? If you go down, it might seem strange to do that because it's not the color you were looking for, but it in fact stays the same color. It just dims it all, is all. So that's one of the techniques I use to dim some of these lights. It's still bright though. I'd say these are still like the brightest buildings on the block, but they have these characters and personalities. So I figured like a Gulpy building could be a little bit brighter. So we went with that. It still stands out amongst the rest, and it's still pretty bright. So those are the changes I made there. And then because these buildings butt up against one another, Abby had all these windows on the side. This creator here, notdana, also had all these windows on the sides, and they didn't really know at the time how tall their neighbor was going to be. I guess Dana did, but Abby certainly didn't. So what I did is I just went in here and literally got rid of all of the walls. And that was the benefit of butting them up to each other pixel perfect like this. I could just go in here, delete all of the windows, delete all of the walls, and that saves us a ton of part counts there. I probably got rid of at least 50 pieces between the 2 buildings there, and you'll never notice it. You won't even know. Obviously I couldn't get rid of these bottom ones because this is an interior building and it apparently has windows on the inside. So this is where it's like, I don't know if I should be the one setting these up anymore. I keep finding stuff, so much stuff. Yeah, like yeah, no, we wouldn't want windows here either, because you wouldn't have windows that look into another wall. Yeah, that makes more sense. So yeah, these are the little things I keep finding as hidden surprises. I'm not a city planner, but I'm gonna go to my best ability, try to sort things out. So that's those are the changes I made between the currently existing builds. That's a look at Dana's build. Absolutely amazing. Let's move on to the next one. This is the Church of Realism, created by Straake. So the total piece count on the Steam page says total piece count 559. Apparently this got kicked back and they fixed it. So the updates say they fixed some Z fighting. Z fighting is that kind of flickering stuff that you guys saw me looking at on the walls here. And then he added show me, hide me signs to make it more easily placeable. Now this is one of the builds that actually uses the foundation that we had pre-built here. So we fit that onto the foundation as snugly as possible, I think. I think I got it right. There is like a door here, so I try to give as much room to get to that door as possible. But like I said, I had to shuffle the build over a little bit because everything was starting to move to the left more and more and more and more because of these thick trims and thick walls and stuff that people have been building on their builds. It's an interesting puzzle to fit these all together, but the build itself looks great. A cute little church. We previously in another video did this massive church. So we have 2 churches right across the street, and I just want to call out, you guys might have seen the setup for this video. I blew up the church with an animation. I do not condone the destruction of churches. It just so happened to be Cody Bits' build. No matter what he ended up building, they asked me to destroy it because, I don't know, they have something against Cody Bits because he makes such nice builds. They wanted me to tear it down. Yeah. So I blew it up, and I just realized afterwards that I blew up a church. My apologies. Oh, so yeah, now we got a mini church down the street. So you have plenty options if you're religious or if you need to repent your sins for your sins. There's some great options on this block of PlanCo Street. Beautiful design. I love what you did with the shapeliness of it. It's a very interesting shape. It's not very boxy. It's very curvy. Lots of intricate little pieces and details. It's great. Absolutely great. And I'm really happy about this build not fitting the volume cube, as mentioned earlier, because it allowed us to shuffle things and tightly pack everything. Now, the downside is that these windows here don't have the best view. This is a very, very tight alleyway, and the doorway is just barely, I mean, if you open the door, yeah, it might just barely open. You're gonna have to like stand over here and open it. But like I said, we're not city builders. We did the best of our ability, and I think I worked it in as good as I could. We'll take a look at the nighttime lighting at that one in a sec with this one at the same time. Queen Coaster Tribute Park, created by SLB 90. And on Steam it says Spooner. They said they used 285 pieces. I don't know what their part count was, but if we look at the park over here, it says 300. They did 285 out of 300, nailing it, going under just slightly. And this one's supposed to be dedicated to Queen Coaster, and on the other end we have a King Coaster. Batch decided, well, why not have a queen to the king? And Rohana is the proud creator of our little queen here. She made a whole family, a coaster family. And I figured, hey, since we already have a coaster queen built, why not give it to this creator to find a way to use it? Turns out it's a perfect size. It's a perfect fit. I love it. Going with the pink flowers, couple pink penguins, the first of this episode. Oh, I feel like we're gonna spot one every single video, aren't we, of this project? So yep, the pink penguins are there. We got good flowers. It's a perfect little park. It's absolutely wonderful. There's a sequencer below. I have no idea what this does or means. So yeah, interesting little thing here. Now, it's kind of hard to grab. Here we go. Now, I'm assuming we want to go to night for this. Press play. Oh, it just turns the fountain on. I like it. I think maybe you could have put it like here, just so we can, you know, not struggle with going underground. Maybe I'll move that. I'm not entirely sure. But if it just turns the fountain on, yeah, like just having it even right here at the right in front of the fountain might have been fine. I get not wanting these electronics sticking out and stuff like that. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's a nice touch. Honestly, what is that sound? Oh, it's these guys. What is the sequencer here? Did I move the sequencer? I gotta be careful when I'm editing stuff. I don't know what the sequencer here is. It must be just part of the race. I don't know. I'm just gonna move it there for now. Maybe Warmguard knows what that's for. It's really difficult when editing these and putting them in and deleting things. You'll accidentally delete other stuff, and I get super paranoid. That's also why I also don't want to get helpers to help set these up just yet, because I don't want to open up the latest version of the park and be like, what happened to the sidewalks? It's really hard to notice, but I might make that mistake at some point. And in fact, in this video here today, I did. So yeah, there's the nighttime lighting for the park and the church. I think it's looking really great. Nice and subtle. This whole row is well lit. Love it. It's turning out great. Next up, we have the Project PlanCo Building 8. Built by PetitPois. They do not give a part count on their workshop, so we'll go B8, go plop it down over here, and we can get a rough count. 431. I think I grabbed something else though. 415. And based off their neighbor, I'm assuming they had about 350-ish. 350, 400. They ballparked it. They got it pretty close. Building's also looking great. What I like about this build is that it's slightly lower than the neighbor, giving us a little bit of height and variation. Would have been kind of nice if we did that with this as well, but I think it's fine. But definitely not them all being the same height is great. It's adding a little bit more noise and different height elevations. It's great. So yeah, the build looks good. Classic brick building. I think I gave you some feedback on this one, didn't I? Originally, this door was didn't have any trim, I believe. Yeah, originally it looked like this, and then they changed it, dressed it up to look like this. Actually, I like that. I like that change. Something was a little bit too strange with the green door there. I think it blends a little bit better now. Again, doing like the trellises with the flowers goes really well with the flower shop that we put over there, bringing a lot of greenery and life to this park. We don't know. I think your neighbor comes up to about here. So if they actually use their max height, we will probably have to destroy your window planters. Unfortunately, that'll make me sad, but it is something that we might have to consider here. What they did here is kind of interesting. Rather than having an interactive front door where like you can go in or whatever, they did it to the back. Really cool. It's just like again, adding like a little bit of depth and something interesting to the backside. It's neat. I like it. Very, very neat. I'm wondering if we could have put some trim down below, or does that not look great? Maybe. I don't know. I'm done critiquing builds. I just got to try to get them in and make the videos. Otherwise, I'm going to never get this project done. But yeah, top of the roof is cool too. You did solar panels, which I kind of like. That's cool. It's different. Changes it up from our other buildings here. So yeah, adds a little bit of something interesting on the top of the build. It's looking fantastic. So we're going to switch it over to nighttime here. So this one actually didn't use a lit screen, but what it had was a light behind it. But this light was at maximum brightness. So if I, if I do this, that's what it looked like. And that's kind of the brightness of the lit screens, which I was talking about earlier. You can barely even make out what it's trying to say when they're lit or when there's a super bright light behind it. So I just dimmed it. And I think that just made it a little bit more soft, subtle. You also had 3 lights in this room. They were just making this whole thing glow. So I just deleted them. I figured, why have lights on the floor to make this brighter when you literally have 3 lights on the wall? And I think that just kind of made it a little bit more subtle and clean. And the front lighting's nice too. Just one little light there with the street lamps. It's perfect. You don't need any more than that. One of the rooms is lit. I like that. It's great. Amazing build. Absolutely amazing build. Last but not least, we have our Mexcellente, created by the one and only Taco King. They did not give us a part count. I don't know how many they had, but it was a mini hero. So it looks like it's about 940, but there's all these signs and stuff that I had to delete. Now that we're over here though, it's nice to show you guys this, because look at all this information to help me put your build in. Barely cover path's edge with the foundation. So that means this foundation, yeah. And then pillar inner edge matches with the sidewalk's edge. So I brought this edge right up to the sidewalk. Just path to the shop. They said that if I want to turn the music off, it's this one speaker only. Super helpful. There's your show me, hide me sign. Tons of information to get this build placed in properly. Really appreciate the amount of effort gone into that. And while I had to fiddle around with a bunch of these builds to get them all to work properly and change a bunch of things, and I was having a bit of a nightmare of a day or an evening trying to get this going, this one went in rather smoothly. And because that instruction said to run the pillar right up to the edge of the sidewalk, I wasn't sure if I should hang it onto the sidewalk a bit or over. Generally, what I do is I try to line it up to the foundation here. We got some flickering foundation as well. My bad. Yeah, I try to line the buildings up to the foundation, as you can see here. Otherwise, they're floating. They're just floating there. But this one, with the instructions to butt the corner up to here, it basically comes over the foundation. But that's okay. As long as it's not hanging over the street. So I was quite happy with that. And it also creates a little bit of depth here. So that worked out quite well. The problem is the foundation was acting like a floor. I went and deleted the foundation, and it actually, all of this was grouped. Later on, I looked and I was like, why are all these buildings floating? So I optimized the foundation to only what we needed and deleted a bunch to save on part count. Another bit of a nightmare. So I had to redo this building. So yeah, this is the Mexcellente building. Very unique shape to it. I love it. Absolutely amazing. It's bustling on the inside, tons of animatronics, simple pathwork, just in and boom. We have a pretend upstairs where you can go lounge. It's great. A little bar. Oh, Blubber made an appearance. Little bit of TV going on in here, and 4 speakers. And FYI, apparently Bitter Elegance tested this out, and it says that if you're like 5 tiles away or something, you can't really hear it anymore. It appears to me like it's a little bit more than that. I could hear it from here, and I think that's more than 5 tiles. Looks about 10 to me. It's good to know how big the radius is, right? So that if we have music or sound effects on certain buildings and pre-shows, that we don't have the sounds overlapping. I think leaving the Mexican music's fine here. Now, talking about the build itself, it definitely has this Mexico vibe. While we have a Mexican contest here, we actually don't have Mexican buildings surrounding it. This could have been a really cool like spot for having this over there, but we just don't have that. It's just gonna be a little Mexican area over here. This is somewhat close to it, I guess. Well, it doesn't really feel like city style to me, and either more Mexico or even some of the styles that we're using for our little Italy. At the end of the day, this is a PlanCo park. It's a project PlanCo, and what vibes I get from this building is Mexalente, and that is a very prominent character or shop, soon to be character in the PlanCo verse. So the one thing that does make it feel very city-like is the height, you know? It's not like a short little tiny 1-level Mexican shop. You made it like a skyscraper. It touches to the sky, and that's going to help with fitting everything in and making it work a little bit more. While the style is different and it does stand out, that is kind of to be expected in this project. But the important thing is, does it feel like it's in Project PlanCo? Does it feel PlanCo to me? Absolutely. So I agree with it. I like the build so much that even if I didn't agree with it, I wouldn't. Yeah, this has to go in here. It's amazing. Taco King did an absolutely fantastic job with this, and he loves his tacos. He got his Mexalente. I'm happy to see you're happy with your pick. And one last look at the nighttime lighting. There it is. Very clean, very soft, very beautiful. Really well done. So all we need now is building number 9. And I know that the person was making a arcade. I think we kicked it back for feedback. It was looking a little under polished, a little underwhelming. So hopefully that builder is doing that. Now that, you know, this is all these buildings are in. Hopefully we get, I remember it being slightly shorter. So once we get that in, hopefully we'll have like a nice little street here. It's gonna look great. So what I'll probably do is when that one comes in, hopefully place some of these builds as well. So we could do a video of it's like, hey, we finished the what do you call this, main strip? It's not Main Street. Main Street's over here, but this whole row's almost in. It's coming together. It looks cool. As of right now, it shows that everything is working out. Very promising. I had my concerns with volumes going a little bit too big and things being a little bit crampy. It all worked out in the end. I had to do a little bit of fixing, a little bit of cleanup, but it's fine. We got it in. We're good to go. I think this was probably the most problematic area because the buildings were touching, where most of these other builds, as you can see, they all have been designed for the most part. This isn't really an issue at all because it's just 2 buildings, right? I can slide this one this way. I can slide this one this way. There's plenty of wiggle room between majority of the other builds. They either have spacing in between them or room to shuffle them to the left or the right. This being probably one of the most problematic streets and it being almost complete, I think one of the harder, more challenging little nooks of the park proved to be somewhat challenging, but we got through it in the end. And from here, I feel like most of the other stuff should go quite smoothly. So in some ways, we got the hardest part out of the way first. Great. So while this ended up having absolutely no setup, I had a ton of things to talk about, a ton of things to showcase. 5 amazing creations, boom, 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 placed in here today. Phenomenal builds. You guys did a great job on all of these. I have no qualms about any of them. I think they're all great. So outstanding work. The project is moving steadily forward, and I'm probably going to try to stick to doing 5 an episode and skipping the setup. Hopefully I'll run into less issues and we could just go straight into reviews for the future videos. Boom! So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. What did you think of these 5 builds? Let the creators know down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode of Project PlanCo. Bye now.